Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Saturday Suspense brought to you by Live Talks ISM. I, Devansh Kumar, I'm the host for today. And first of all, we'd like to thank our audience for the constant support for the first two videos. And we promise you good content in the upcoming videos as well. So today we have with us none other than Shivani Kashyap. She is a singer, composer, guitarist, and she is also ambassador of Yamaha Guitars and artist of the ICCR, that is the Indian Council for Cultural Relation. She is well known for her songs like Sajna Abhija, Ho Gaya Mohabbat, and many more. Hello, ma'am. How have you been?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you. I'm good. I hope you're safe and good, and all is good with you as well.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Thank you. So let's begin with a very staple question. How was your quarantine? Or rather, I should say, how is your quarantine going? Because I think it's a very long battle right now.
Yes. Well, my quarantine is, to be honest with you, I have done a lot of things during this quarantine. It's been very productive. It's been very introspective. It's been very, as they say, that, think going inwards and moving outwards. So that's been my principle. And I have got to do a lot of things which I could not do before. Yes, of course, these are very trying times. It's a testing time for entire world. We're all in this together, but we really need to make safety and precautions the biggest priority right now. That is the biggest priority, that we all have to be healthy and safe, and preferably all of us have to work from home and be home as much as we can, unless it's really important to step out.
Yeah,
So it's
true.
been great. I've done a lot of songs. I have done lots of concerts, about 50 to 60 digital online concerts I have done during this time. I have come out with at least 6 to 7 new songs. I began with a song called Corona Ko Hai Harana,
Yeah.
which became pretty viral on all the news channels, etc., because it had a very strong message. So yeah, all this and much more has been happening, and it's still happening.
So anything new this quarantine, like gardening or something? To try something new, or was it just music for you?
Well, not gardening. I can say that I used to be very technology phobic before this, and also I used to be very away from social media and the digital format. I used to be more involved with making my songs, going to studios, going for my concerts, traveling the world, always busy packing and unpacking or rehearsing with my band, jamming with them, and doing concerts, multiple concerts all over India and all over the world. So I was more of a traveler, singer songwriter kind of a thing. But I think being home, I started focusing on a lot of other things, like yes, of course, looking after my home, spending time with my loved ones. Um, I have tried to go into the kitchen and try to, you know, start some sort of cooking, but I'm not very successful in that. But meditation, yoga, I do yoga really absolutely daily, and of course, working more on my skill, which is my art, my craft, which is music. So that this has given me an opportunity to work more on my skill.
So first of all, the first question is like, since you have studied from Delhi University, so I around 3 to 4 months back there was this viral video where you girls were telling that IITians they have a perception that IITians are kind of nerd and bookworms. So what was your perception that time? Like, was same or something different?
No, not at all. On the contrary. So I was in Lady Shri Ram College. I was doing my English literature, and we used to have this a festival called Tarang. And the IITians used to be the most frequenting people in our college, and I made some very good friends in IIT. In IIT Delhi used to have a festival called Rendezvous, and I used to always participate in that. And since I was in my I was heading my Western Music Society in my college, so I used to represent all the inter college music competitions. And IIT Rendezvous was something that I used to really look forward to. And when I made friends with the, the IITians, I realized that they were very, very musically oriented. They were very good debaters. They were fantastic singers and musicians, guitarists. So I got to learn a lot, and there was a lot of exchange of art and culture. So of course, the fact is that it is a given that IITians have to be very, very, extremely studious. But I feel that they're a great balance. They have a great time to, they like to express their art also. So that's something which I really, really is, that is my perception, because I have so many friends who from IIT then went to Harvard University or Wharton universities like that, and who've really done very well, but they've kept their musical side alive. They've kept that musical expression alive. And some of the best singers and musicians came out of IIT, trust me, especially in our times.
That's great to hear, ma'am. So since you were pursuing English literature from DU, so when did this transition came from English literature to music, or was it a childhood thing, like you always wanted to be a singer, or was it in
I
college?
I always wanted to be a singer. So in my school, from my school choir days, when I used to sing in my school choir as a little girl, till graduating from singing, being the lead singer of the school choir, to participating in inter-school music competitions, to winning those competitions, to also participating in one of the biggest music competitions that India has today, which is the biggest ground competition, as you say. It's not a reality show, because our time we didn't have reality shows when I was in school. So it is called the Sangam Kala Group, which they organize something called the All India Vocal Music Competition. And in this competition, there is, Sonu Nigam has won this, Sunidhi Chauhan. I have been a part of it. I also came first. So from doing all of those things till college, I knew very well that I have to pursue music as my profession, as because it is my passion. And but for me, education is very, very important, because I come from an educationist family, and that is something which I feel that it really helps you to become a well-rounded personality, to address the crowd, to connect with your fans, to also address the media. It's very, very important to be well educated. So I had to even education, even studying was a big passion for me. But I always knew from school that I have to become a singer.
So since you mentioned that you wanted to become a singer from childhood, so who was the inspiration, that one person that you followed religiously, that I want to be like him, I look up to him?
Well, there have been lots of inspirations as I have gone along. And to begin with, I think sometimes we look for inspiration outside our family. My mother is my biggest inspiration. She has studied Sangeet Praveen 18 years, and she has excelled in her music, in her Indian classical music, and she's an educationist as well. And so she's the one who actually initiated me into Indian classical music and my musical training. And then so she's one of my biggest inspirations to begin with, because she's a great I mean, she's an educationist also, great musician also, and a great family person also. So a homemaker and a career person. So that's the kind of balance that I've always looked up to and strived towards being. And of course, as far as singers are concerned, I think the one singer who always inspired me in her versatility in the entire world is Asha Bhosle ji. Uh, and I think from singing ghazals to item songs to love songs to romantic songs to anything, any kind of music, I think her voice has so much of feel and expression, and the way she sings is absolutely amazing. So she will always be uh, a singer who I will always look up to. Of course, R.D. Burman's music, something which is amazing. A.R. Rahman Saab, I mean, he's someone I really, really look up to. In the Western side of things, there's Sting, who to me is an institution of music, because he's a musician extraordinaire. He's a singer, songwriter, guitar player, bass guitar player, and the kind of musical genres that he has experimented with and fused in his music is absolutely amazing. So for me, he'll always be one of my hugest inspirations. So Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan Saab's music, his singing is just, it touches divinity. Abita Parveen's music, it touches absolute divinity for me. So yeah, these are a few people who are always topping my list as my idols, as my musical idols.
So, ma'am, you started your career by singing jingles for All India Radio. So, can you tell about how was that experience?
Okay, so let me correct you on that question. I started my career with singing jingles is absolutely correct, but the jingle for All India Radio FM. Now, in 1996, India did not have stereo radio or FM radio. I don't know if you're aware of that or not, but we used to have a shortwave and medium wave, SWMW radio, which was basically mono radio, and it was not 24 hours. So in 1996, All India Radio FM was launched with it was 24/7, and it was stereo radio with absolutely an all new programming, which would play English music, international music, and Bollywood music as well. So the signature tune of this AIR FM is what I sang, and that's how there was a new wave or new path breaking wave or journey of Indian radio which began. And this jingle became very famous because it used to play every hours in the 24 hours, so 24 times in a day it used to play, and in all the metros. So of course people knew my voice that time, but they did not know who the singer was, because that's what jingle singers are, like unsung heroes. But yes, this journey was a beginning, a great beginning for me, because it taught me a lot. And I used to sing jingles for products, like for Coca-Cola, for Nescafe, for so many brands. And in jingles, you're supposed to actually sing very expressively, as if you're trying to sell that brand. So it was a great learning experience for me, and I'm so glad that my career began this way.
So, yeah, ma'am. So, since you represented India on a global music festival in 1999, I think. So, how was that feeling of representing India on an international platform?
Okay, so in 1999, I was selected uh, as an Indian artist to go and participate in this. It was like a competition and a festival. It was called Azad Auze, Voice of Asia, and it is held in Kazakhstan, Almaty. And in the previous years, Alicia Chennai had been selected, Dalai Mehndi had been selected, Remo Fernandez had gone and represented our country. So for me, it was a huge matter of pride, and I spent 10 days there. I met singers and artists like Peter Andre, Patricia Kaas. That there was a band which used to be very, very popular those days from USA. Uh, so it was a great cultural exchange and a great learning experience, and very enhancing and empowering experience for me, and a matter of pride, of course, that this was the first time that I'm actually representing my country abroad. And to be honest with you, that was the first trip out of the country for me. It was my first international trip, so I had to get a passport made that time and all of that. So it was not it was a many firsts for me. And after that, of course, I have performed all over the world to represent India in many festivals, like you know the Sahabat India Festival in Indonesia, the India and Egypt Festival in Egypt. In Mauritius, I performed for the Independence Day celebrations. I had gone with the president's contingent. I was a part of the president's contingent, so we were like state guests in Mauritius, and I did 4 concerts there. Uh, and then I performed for the Parvasi Bharati Divas, which was held in Toronto, in Canada, in 2010. And recently, in 2018, I performed at the biggest Independence Day celebrations, which is called the India Day Parade, which is held in New York at the Madison Avenue, along with Kailash Kher and Kamal Hassan ji and Shruti Hassan, so who were the state guests and the VIP guests for this parade. So yes, it's been a great journey for me, because when you're representing your country, then it just takes on different proportions. It's not just about being in Delhi or Mumbai, or just about, you are actually, there's a huge responsibility that you shoulder. You have to represent your culture with a lot of conviction and pride and sincerity. So yes, so these things have been a huge matter of pride. And of course, when I performed at the opening ceremony of Commonwealth Games, which were held in 2010 in New Delhi at the Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium, that was also another huge milestone and a huge matter of pride for me. I performed at the opening ceremony along with A.R. Rahman sir, and there were about 60,000 people in the stadium that time, and of course it was being viewed by crores of people all over the world live. So yes, these things I will never forget these. I would say these milestones in my life.
So by mentioning Commonwealth Games, you're just taking one of our questions from the script.
I made it easy for you.
So how do you handle this pressure? Because first of all, you're singing with some huge artists, as you mentioned. Uh, Apart from that, you have the added pressure of representing the country. So how do you handle that?
Uh, so I don't take it as a pressure. I take it as a passion and something that I really enjoy. It's like a joy for me. So and there's no point being in competition with anyone else, because you are bringing something which is unique of your own which you offer. So I feel that every artist has something unique. So I have my unique voice, my unique style of singing, some of my compositions which I have composed myself. So everything about me I feel has to be special, and I have to be convinced about it. So, and I have to enjoy what I do. So it's not about the pressure of, oh my god, what will happen, how will my performance pale away into insignificance in front of a certain other performer who's so huge and who's such a huge legend. No, I think it's a matter of pride to be on the same stage with those kind of legends, and of course offer something new.
Okay. So you have also, as you mentioned, you've done a number of live shows in your career. So do you miss doing live shows, or you have just adapted? You are just loving the virtual event.
Oh, to be honest with you, I'm really missing the live shows. There's nothing to beat these live shows. You know, I mean, the whole experience of being on stage in front of thousands of people, where even if it's hundreds of people, even if it's 50 people or whatever, it is a lovely energy exchange that you get. You feel the pulse of the crowd, what they, you get an instant reaction from them. That may sometimes even enhances your performance even more, you know. So definitely there is nothing which can parallel or which can compete or compare with a live performance. But the idea is to reinvent yourself. The idea is to modify yourself to the situation, and the situation demands that we be safe. So I'm also beginning to like doing virtual shows, because there's a huge technology thing which I'm learning through this, because it's not just about my performance, but it is about learning a new medium, absolutely entirely something new. So it's like I'm doing a new course in digital music or something. So yes, it's nice. There are times that, you know, when people are, I'm just facing a camera and I'm singing, and when I'm singing on you know, apps like Zoom, then I guess everybody else has to be muted. So there are times when I've done shows and I told everybody, okay, just for this one, just unmute yourself for like 2 minutes, so that I can hear your response, at least I can hear your reaction. So then when they are unmuted, and at least I can see all of them in the frame, and they scream out and they cheer for me, it feels good. But yeah, one really misses that instant reaction that you get when you're on
Yeah, I think
live.
like online becomes a little difficult because you don't get the reaction of the people. So you don't know
Yeah,
whether they are
yeah,
loving the performance or they want something new. You can't find out there.
yeah.
That's so. This is something I wanted to ask you while you're performing for live shows on the stage. So what's that cheat code like? If consider a situation where the audience isn't loving it, or the audience isn't liking. So what's that cheat code that you apply so that the attract the audience toward yourself?
What is
The cheat code that you apply, like what is the thing that you do so that audience yeah, I can say that the audience is attracted towards you, the audience pay attention somehow if they are not enjoying, so what do you do at that situation?
I don't think, touchwood, by God's grace, at the moment I have faced any such situation where the audience has, you know, said something negative about my performance when I've been performing on the virtual shows. You're talking about virtual shows, right?
No, no, in live shows.
Oh, live shows. Okay, yeah. Oh, live shows. There have been lots of experiences where sometimes the audience has hooted, or they've not been interested, or whatever. So the best idea is to engage the audience, talk to them, ask them, okay, what kind of music do you feel like listening to? What song do you want to listen to? And you know, it's very important to have a large repertoire of music, a large repertoire of songs, and do a good research before you perform in a certain place. Like if I'm going to perform in Assam, for instance, so a good research needs to be done, that what is the kind of music are they listening to? And okay, of course it's important to sing your own songs and your own choice of music as well, but it's also important to understand what kind of music uh, gets them going in. So you have to be very well prepared. I feel preparation is very important. So you can't go to any region or any place without preparation, without finding out the kind of trend that that place is trending with. Like when you go to Punjab, you have to sing Punjabi music because that's what they really trip on. So you can't not, I mean, you can bung in a few other English Hindi songs or whatever, but it's really important to get the pulse of what they like there. Like in Assam, people love rock music. They love English music. If I go to a Shillong to perform, they would love to listen to, English rock, classic rock music. So you have to be prepared accordingly. And a few Bollywood songs you can bung in. But if you just only sing Bollywood songs and Punjabi songs, they won't be able to relate to it. So it's totally depends on that region and the kind of trend and the research that you do before you go to perform in that particular place.
So talking about your Bollywood career, your debut song was Ho Gayi Mohabbat, and what was that journey from Ho Gayi Mohabbat to your first Bollywood song Sajna Abija? Can you describe your journey? How was that?
So, Ho Gayi Mohabbat happened in 98 and it became an instant massive hit. And sometimes it's wonderful when your very first song becomes such a huge hit, but sometimes it also acts a little negatively for you because then the next few songs that you do, people expect yaar ye bhi hit hone chahiye, and making a song a hit really depends on many factors and variables. So of course this song with the video and the melody and everything was just right for it, and it was at a time when pop music was really at its peak. um, in the year 2000 when I came up with my next album, Nagmagi, that time I tried out an experimental genre where I did Sufi with jazz. And So a lot of people maybe did not connect with it and maybe it was not even promoted that well. So there's a lot of tools which go towards making a song more known and popular and a hit. So you just learn as you go along. But in 2003, when this song came out, actually, I was approached by Shashank Ghosh in 2002 when I played my song Sajna Abhija to him, saying that, I want to do this song for my next album. And he said, but let's do this for my next film, for my first film that I'm making called Vaisa Bhi Hota Hai Part 2. And I was still a little uncertain about it because honestly, my pop music career was doing very well. And I was like, no, I don't know if I'm so ready to step into Bollywood because Bollywood honestly was not my intention or my goal at that point in time. I was still getting into my career. I was still enjoying doing my concerts as a pop star. And I felt that I was happy being a pop star. I really wasn't ready or prepared to being a playback singer, so to speak, because those days the songs and the kind of music which used to come out in the late 90s was very different. The songs used to be 7 minutes long and they were very high pitched voices. And I was like, this is not my kind of scene. But I think with our film, we can really proudly and very, uh, I can staunchly say this, that Bollywood music underwent a sea change after our song, after our movie, after Vaisa Bhi Hota Hai 2 was released, because for the first time you could see a singer on screen singing her own song. So the song was picturized on me. In fact, Kailash Kher's song Allah Ke Bande was also in the same film, and you would have seen him also singing his own song in the film. So I think one major path-breaking change which came about in Bollywood, that people started knowing, oh, this is the singer who sung their own song, and the sound of Bollywood music changed with our film. And I think I really can very proudly say that. And I think after Vaisa Bhi Hota Hai Part 2, I did 17 films, one after the other, as a singer, playback singer, or a composer. And the sound really changed. And I began enjoying being a playback singer or a Bollywood musician, you can, like a singer composer. I did a film called Mr. Ya Mrs., which was Ram Gopal Verma's very quirky film, and Antara Mali was the heroine. And in fact, when they approached me, they said, "We want you to sing all the songs in the film because we want you to be the voice of Antara Mali in the film." And that was a really funny film. And again, the sound of the music, the songs, everything was so different. It was so non-Bollywood like. So I was like, okay, will this work? Because the music is, for the first time there was a hip hop track in the film which I sang, and there was a very kind of a R&B kind of a sound which came in, and but it really did well. Then I did another film. Then of course, after Vaisa Bhi Hota Hai Part 2, I was approached for Zinda, to actually not just sing but also compose the music of Zinda. So I did two tracks. And what another marked change which happened from our film onwards, I can very proudly again say this, that before Vaisa Bhi Hota Hai Part 2, all the films had a certain diktat, like they had a certain norm that every film will have one music composer who will do all the songs. But from Vaisa Bhi Hota Hai Part 2, there were multiple composers. Like in Vaisa Bhi Hota Hai Part 2, I had three songs which I had composed and sung, apart from Sajna Abhija. There were two tracks which were composed by Vishal and Shekhar. Uh, Rabbi Shergill had composed and sung one song, which was the opening credits of the film. So there was a ensemble cast of, not just cast which was playing in the film, but there was an ensemble cast of composers, and that brought about a lot of variety in Bollywood films. Because sometimes when one composer makes all the songs, it's great because the synergy of the sound is there, and of course all the songs have that similar sound. But when you have a variety of composers, the viewer and the listener gets to listen to and enjoy different kinds of music because it's coming from different sources. So with that, of course, even the other films that I sang for or composed for, like Zinda, when I got approached to do the music of Zinda, there was again Vishal Shekhar was doing two tracks. Anand Raj Anand did two tracks in that film. Two tracks I did. The very famous band from Pakistan called Strings, they did one song, Kya Ye Meri Hai Kahani. So again, the music of Zinda did so well that it was, I think also it was owing to the kind of different sources that the music was coming from. So I have really enjoyed my journey as a Bollywood composer. I have no regrets because I got to do the kind of music which I wanted to do. And always the music producer, I mean the film producer, used to approach me saying, we want Shibani's style in this. It was never like, yaar isko waisa bana do ya usko waisa bana do. It was always like, we want your style. So when Rohit Shetty approached me for a movie called Sunday, that is in 2010, and he was making a really big star cast film with Arshad Varsi, Irfan Khan, Aisha Takia, Isha Deol, and many more. It was a multiple star cast film, and he wanted me to compose the song for the climax of the film. He said, this song will be very important in the film," and then I came up with a song. And again, even that film had six composers from Sandeep Chota, Raghav Sachar, uh, Dalay Mehndi composed one song. Again, Vishal Shekhar, they did one song in that film. I did one song. So it had a multiple star cast and a multiple cast for music also. So this is what I was part of in Bollywood. I felt very happy and very proud and very privileged that I was part of this change, this turning point of Bollywood, where music could be very elemental. It could be taken from any part of the world and it could be your style. You didn't have to stick to a particular norm or diktat. So that's something that I think my journey has been very blessed.
So, ma'am, since we have mentioned about Sajna Abhija, can you just sing few lines for the audience?
Sure, I've got my guitar, but I don't know how the sound will be. You'll have to tell me. I'll just pick up my guitar.
Yes, sure, ma'am.
I didn't know I was supposed to sing actually. I kept my guitar though. I didn't know I was. Okay, here we go. सजना अभी जा सजना आई जा नहीं लगता तेरे बिना दिल मेरा है नहीं लगता तेरे बिना दिल मेरा सजना अभी जा सजना अभी जा.
That's beautiful, ma'am. Thank you. So
Thank you.
that brings us to the end of the first part of the episode. stay tuned for the second part, and if you like this video, like, share, and subscribe so that you get a notification for the second part as well.